Hey, I'm Jamie from Stonemaier Games, and today I'm going to talk about my top 10 favorite engine building games. This is one of my favorite category of games. I love when I feel stronger, more powerful at the end of the game than I did at the beginning of the game. And specifically, engine building games are games where the core things the game wants you to do. For example, if it's a game about making chocolate, the core thing the game wants you to do, you get better at them as the game proceeds. So if it's a game about making chocolate, early in the game, it might be slow and difficult and expensive to make chocolate. And as I build my engine, it becomes faster and cheaper and more efficient, and I score more points from it. All these different things can go into the idea of making chocolate in this example. So that is what the idea of an engine building game is. Many Stonemaier games are engine building games because I love the sense of progression throughout the game. Apiary, Charterstone, Expeditions, Pendulum, Scythe, Tapestry, Viticulture, Wingspan, and Wyrmspan. How many is that? 9 total games. So nearly half of our catalog are engine building games. So clearly this is a mechanism that I really, really enjoy seeing in games. I asked ambassadors, Stonemaier ambassadors, what they think are their favorite engine building games. And the answers that were given by more than one person were Aeon's End, Apiary. There are going to be some Stonemaier games on this list because they are Stonemaier ambassadors. Ark Nova, Earth, Expeditions, Furnace, Great Western Trail, It's a Wonderful World, Knarr, Race for the Galaxy, Res Arcana, Revive, Roll for the Galaxy, Scythe, Tapestry, Terraforming Mars, Ares Expedition, Wingspan, and Wyrmspan. Now I'm going to do something a little bit different with today's top 10 list. If you've watched these videos in the past, there's something new I'm going to try. It's going to happen right after I make my my top 4 picked. So after I do 10 through 4, we're going to pause and I'm going to do something a little bit different. So let's start with number 10. Number 10 is over here on my other screen. Here we go. Number 10 is Raising Robots. This is, and many of these games, you'll notice, some of them are tableau building games like this. So this is a game that features a lot of different cards where you get to put them on your player mat in certain places, different orders, and they're a lot of variability and variety in these games because you don't know which cards will come up or which cards you'll have access to. There's also the perfect information style of engine building game. I'll tell you an example of that in a moment. So in this game, in Raising Robots, you are playing robots on your player mat and then choosing from a limited number of tokens which categories you are going to activate. So you don't always activate each category. It depends on which categories you choose to activate with these tokens. And after you activate them, you get to move down this line and activate the robots in that row. So if you chose not to take the fabricate action, you wouldn't activate the fabricate row at all. So it's an engine building game where the tempo really changes from round to round. There are rounds where I might build up this middle row, this orange row, and make it really powerful. And I might activate that more than once, but there might be times where I just don't activate that row and I'm focusing on other rows depending on what resources I need. I can say from playing this game, I don't know, half a dozen times that I really enjoy the engine building. It feels really satisfying. And in particular, and we'll notice this in a few different games, the left to right aspect of it, meaning that the order matters. So even if I have the exact same cards in a future game, the order in which I play them might impact the order of operations. So I really like the order of operations puzzle and variety that it offers in any tableau building engine building game like Raising Robots here at number 10. At number 9, we have a deck building game. This is Clank. I've played many different versions of Clank, legacy version, the space version, expansions, and all of them have this strong element of engine building in the form of deck building. Many deck building games have engine building, that you're getting better at the things that the game wants you to do as you improve your deck. And so Clank has this in spades. There's a wide variety of cards that you're adding to your deck, and they're making you better at doing core things like improving your skills, your ability to buy new cards, your ability to fight monsters. But they also, cards have abilities written on them that make you better at doing other things. They might say, like, if you do this if you do a certain thing on this turn, then you get this reward. So they're making you making certain actions more rewarding and also making certain actions easier as you play. Again, this is a game with a lot of variability because of the sheer number of cards. It isn't a tableau building game like Raising Robots, but it does have a wide variety of cards that contribute to the engine building. So that is Clank at number 9. And number 8 is Orleans. This is a bag building game. So some of the variety comes from adding new tokens to your bag and improving the different types of tokens that you get to pull out of your bag. But also, Orleans has engine building in the form of tiles. They aren't shown here, but there are tiles that you can buy that expand your worker placement action options. So you're not just limited to your player mat where you can place different workers, but you can also place workers on these tiles that you're placing as well. So I like this dual use of engine building, that you're improving your bag itself. And in fact, whenever you gain one of these tokens, you advance on a track as well. There's a little bit of engine building there, but also that you are expanding your action options. And that contributes to your ability to perform those actions, because the tiles that do these actions are stronger than the core actions on your player mat. So that's a nice way to add engine building to a game as well. That is Orleans at number 8. And number 7 is Ark Nova. Ark Nova is many different things, but it also is an engine building game. There's a strong sense of progression to the game. Part of this comes from the cards that you play. Some cards have ongoing abilities. Many cards impact your income and make your income stronger. But I would say the core engine building element of the game, and even there are tokens that make things stronger or better. If you have certain tokens, like if I have the North America token or the Americas token, then whenever I want to play an animal that has an Americas tag, it costs me 3 fewer coins. That is improving my engine. But I think the biggest engine building aspect of this game is your ability to upgrade your action cards. You have 5 different action cards in Ark Nova, and you can upgrade them throughout the game. In fact, this player, I believe, has all 5 upgraded, which I don't think is actually possible. You can only upgrade 4 of them. But yeah, typically you upgrade 3 or 4 of them over the course of the game, and they get better. You flip them over to the backside. So the core actions that you're taking printed on these cards improve based on which of them you decide to upgrade at certain times in the game when you get to upgrade them. So this is like the core action system itself. It isn't separate. It's the action cards themselves have an upgraded side that you can flip over to at certain times in the game. That I really enjoy that aspect of engine building in the number 7 game Ark Nova on my list. And number 6 is the White Castle, a relatively new game that has a couple different elements of engine building on your player mat. One of them are these workers that and they're actually not exactly workers. They're meeples, but they're not really workers. When you do different things to get these workers off your player mat, whenever you take certain actions, you gain everything that's exposed by these workers. So you can see here that these workers or these meeples are covering up certain icons. In this bottom row, a lot of them are covered up. But if I chose to take this top row action, this symbol right here, I would gain a ton of different abilities. And even on the right here, there's a card that goes here temporarily that gives me an extra benefit when I activate that row. And I gain that extra benefit until this card moves aside. And when that card moves aside, it actually moves down into this bottom row down here, so that whenever I gain a lantern benefit, which is another benefit that you can gain in this game, I gain all of these benefits right here. So White Castle is fully an engine building game around how you're improving different elements of your player mat through removing tokens that we'll see in some other games here, and from these cards, how these cards shift around and which cards that you choose to gain. That's the White Castle at number 6. And number 5 is probably the newest game on this list. This is Creature Caravan. And here's an example of some of the many different cards that you can get in this tableau building game. On your turn, typically you're rolling some dice and you're placing those dice to activate different cards. But a lot of these cards improve your engine. They make what you're trying to do in the game better. So there might be a default way to get, or there is a default way to get coins in the game, but the Swindler makes it a little bit cheaper, makes it easier to do so, because the dice that you're placing, I have to place a die that is 4 or less, or I'm sorry, 4 or greater on this spot. And so if the default is placing a 6 somewhere else, placing a 4 improves my engine. It makes me a little bit more flexible in terms of which dice I can use to gain a coin. This one here, machine cards cost 1 fewer food. So that makes my engine for machine cards better. I love, and I talked about order of operations a little bit earlier. I love games like this that have cards or benefits that change the cost of things throughout the whole course of the game, especially categorical costs. So this card lets me decrease the cost of machine cards. So that says if I play that card early in the game, from then on, I'm going to be on the lookout for machine cards. It completely changes the shape of my game compared to the previous time I played, unless I happen to get the same card at the beginning of the previous game. This card has an income benefit. Each turn, gain a card. Tons of engine building in Creature Caravan, a game that I'm really, really enjoying right now. That's my number 5 pick. We're almost to the top 3 here. I'm going to do something different, but here's the last one. Number 4, Terra Mystica. Terra Mystica is, in my mind, even though there's one game that came before that does this, Hansa Teutonica, Terra Mystica is the game that has you removing things from your player mat to improve your income. This is engine building in the form of income improvement. So as you place these buildings on the board, as you pay to place them on the board, they reveal benefits. This player mat is actually covering up most of these benefits, but they reveal benefits that you gain during the income phases of the game. So this is really satisfying to pick up these tokens, to get them off, to put them on the board. They're still doing something. You're not just discarding them after that. They're sitting on the board. They're controlling different territory, but also you are improving your income significantly over the course of the game. It's really satisfying to start with a very full mat in Terra Mystica and end the game with a very empty mat and gaining a ton of income in that final round. That's Terra Mystica at number 4. So here's the thing that I'm going to do different here. What I did, if you've been watching these videos for a while, maybe you're new to the channel, that's awesome. Welcome. Please let me know your thoughts in the comments below. I'll ask a question at the end of the video. But if you've been watching for a while, you've pretty much only heard my perspective. Every now and then I have other people come on the video, but pretty much you're only hearing my perspective about games. And my perspective about games, I mostly play games either 2-player or I play it with friends, multiplayer with friends. And I have a very specific style of gaming. I do play, I'm an omni gamer. I play a lot of different games, but I gravitate towards medium weight Euro games. And so I thought, I want to give you a few other perspectives from people who play games differently than I do. And so specifically, I reached out to Stonemaier ambassadors and I found 3 people who have different tastes in games than I do. So they're ambassadors. So they like Stonemaier games. So overall, they like our principles. They like our design ethos. But I asked for some examples of games they love, and they named games that are games that I typically don't talk about. And specifically, I asked for a couple different categories of people. So today I have a heavy gamer, a solo gamer, and a family gamer, someone who plays games with their kids. I'm not any of those things. I don't primarily play games solo. I don't primarily play heavy games, and I don't primarily play games with kids. And so I thought I could offer these perspectives in brief every week. I won't go into so much detail as I'm doing it right now every week. Without further ado, let me get to this list that I have set up for you here. So need to flip over to a different tab. Okay, so for our family gamer, we have Skylar. So Skylar is a Stonemaier ambassador, and her top picks for family games, for this category of games, engine building, are Familiar Tales at number 3, Quacks & Co. Quedlinburg Dash at number 2, and at number 1, we have My Little Everdell. Skylar, thank you for contributing these picks. In the future, I might ask the people who are picking these to maybe give a little bit of information about why they recommend these for family gamers. But for now, I just have the list. And hopefully, if you are someone who plays games with your kids, you might get some value from Skylar's list right now. In the heavy gamer category, we have Dylan. Dylan, thank you for sharing your list here. Dylan shared at number 3 the game Distilled, the heavy game Distilled. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm one off. I skipped ahead a little bit. Dylan's number 3 pick is the game New Frontiers. Dylan is our heavy gamer. Number 3, New Frontiers. Number 2, Pulsar 2849. And at number 1, the game On Mars. Thank you, Dylan, for sharing those picks. And as a solo gamer, we have Aaron, a solo gamer, primarily plays games solo. Aaron's solo pick was Distilled. Sorry about that. I skipped ahead. Number 2, Windmill Valley. And number 1, Wyrmspan. So Stonemaier game at number 1 from Aaron, the solo gamer. I also wanted to mention, I think I forgot to do my honorable mentions. My honorable mentions for this category are Space Base, Everdell, the Quacks of Quedlinburg, and Splendor are my honorable mentions. So let's head back over to, I hope you enjoy that. Let me know your feedback on this new panel format. I'm open to revise in the future for sure. And let's jump over and look at my top 3. My top 3, Earth is, again, a card-driven tableau building game. In fact, I talked about, a second ago, I talked about perfect information games. Terra Mystica is a perfect information engine building game where there's no random elements other than the asymmetry, and you have that determined at the beginning of the game, and you can build your engine over the course of the game based on what you already know. Scythe is also close to perfect information, even though there are some random encounter cards that can come up. But Earth is not. Earth is a game with a lot of variety from the cards that you can place in your tableau. The engine building comes from the fact that whenever any player takes a specific action, all players get to activate all cards in their tableau that share that color of action. So, for example, this player's tableau has a lot of red cards in it. So if someone, including this player, chooses the red action in the game, this player, like all other players, gets to activate all red cards. And so every time they play a red card into their tableau here, they're improving their engine for the red action in the game. Really clever simultaneous, in particular, engine building element to the game Earth, which is my number 3 pick. At number 2 is an almost literal engine building game. This is the game Fantastic Factories. So this is a game a little bit similar to Creature Caravan, actually, where you're rolling dice at the beginning of the round and then placing those dice on various cards to activate those cards. And these cards, basically similar to the game Furnace that I mentioned earlier, you are converting, you're typically like using dice to gain some resources and using some cards to convert resources to other things. So like this card, if you place a 6 value die here, you get a point and you get an energy. There might be other cards that convert. Yeah, so here's one that you spend an energy to, if you place some dice here, to gain something else. Here's one where you spend 4 energy to gain some points. So it's all about gaining resources and then converting those resources into other things by putting dice on these cards. And you have to pay to place these cards. And so as you play more cards into your tableau, you are improving your engine in Fantastic Factories. So this is kind of a great example of a resource conversion, converting resources to one thing to the next engine building game in Fantastic Factories at my number 2. At number 1, I have a game that's now coming up on almost 13 years old. This is Tzolk'in. It's one that I still enjoy getting to the table. It has a few different engine building elements, and it has like the feel of engine building throughout the game because of the gears. But the gears aren't really the core engine building element. The core engine building element is this area of the board right here, where you can improve your ability to take a variety of actions in the game. So depending on where your token is, so let's use this blue player as an example. The blue player in the first row here, they have their token here. They've advanced it from left to right here. So that means from now on, whenever they choose the gain corn action or any action that gains them corn, they gain an extra corn. They're all the way over here on the right of this action. And so this means whenever they gain wood, stone, or gold, they gain an extra resource of that type. And there's one related to building down here. There's one related to a specific blue track over here. And one clever thing I think that Tzolk'in does, in addition to giving you the option of improving all these action types. And again, this is a perfect information game. I really love how Tzolk'in does this in a perfect information game. If you reach the end of the track, something that can happen in engine building games where you reach the end of a track, for upgrading some category, and then you can't do anything else if you were to advance on that track again. Tzolk'in gives you a compelling benefit at the end of the track that you gain every time if you bump up that track again. So if I decide simply to not continue to improve my corn making ability, and instead I decide to just bump up this token on the second row, I would gain 2 of any resource. So it doesn't improve my engine anymore, but it gives me access to an instant benefit whenever I continue to advance on that row. I think that's a clever addition to an engine building game. So yeah, that's Tzolk'in at number 1 on my list. I'd love to hear your thoughts about any games that I mentioned here. Let me know your favorite engine building game that I mentioned. Let me know your favorite engine building game in general. And if you don't mind, I'd love some feedback on the types of categories that I chose for the panel here. And one thing in particular that I'm wondering, I guess beyond that, is if I do continue to add these panels, these 3 different people with different perspectives, a heavy gamer, solo gamer, and family gamer, do you care as much about the full top 10 list from me, or would you prefer for me to reduce my total list to, I don't know, 6 games, 5 games, something like that, maybe just 3? And I do my 3, and then I do the panelists 3 with a little further descriptions. Let me know what you think about that. If you prefer the top 10 from me, and then a focus on the 3 for me and the panelists, or if you want me to reduce my list a little bit so I can spend a little bit more time on the panelist list. I'm open to that feedback in the comments below. All right. Thank you.